मैंने वेलकम टू मिस छंचन यूट्यूब चैनल। तो आज आम रेभेन्सा यूनिवर्सिटी पीजी एंट्रांस एग्जामिनेशन 2019 रो क्वेश्चन आंसर डिस्कशन करबा। 2020 रे फर्स्ट टाइम पे सीपेड एजुकेशन सीपेड रो एग्जाम हेतिला। ता पूर्वरु अलग अलग यूनिवर्सिटी रे अलग अलग एग्जाम होतला। तो आम 2019 रो रेभेन्सा रो क्वेश्चन आंसर डिस्कशन करबा। तो सेतेबेले फुल मार्क्स थिला 100 मार्क्स आउ टाइम थिला 2 आवर्स आउ सेतिरे 0.25 रो नेगेटिव मार्किंग भी होउतला। तो चलंतु डिस्कशन करिबा। तो फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन अछि व्हिच ब्रांच ऑफ फिलोसफी डील्स विथ द कांसेप्ट ऑफ फ्री विल एंड डिटरमिनिज्म। तार आंसर हबो मेटाफिजिक्स। तापर अछि एक्सियोलॉजी डील्स विथ द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ डैश। इटा हबो एथिक्स। तापर अछि व्हिच स्कूल ऑफ फिलोसफी Which school of philosophy advocates reality is always changing? এটা হবো pragmatism. তারপর আছে which philosophy emphasizes that knowledge is latent in mind? এর answer হবো idealism. তারপর আছে who among the following philosopher is not an idealist? এটা হবো Aristotle. তারপর আছে who among the following philosophers is not a pragmatist? এটা হবো Butler. তারপর আছে who has given emphasis on aesthetic aims of education? এটা হবো অরবিন্দ। তারপর আছে who has defined education as continuous reconstruction and reorganization of experience? তো ইয়ার আনসার হবো ডিভি, অপশন বি ডিভি। তারপর আছে which philosophy says that values are instrumental? এটা হবো pragmatism. তারপরে হচ্ছে which philosophy says that you cannot know the reality in its wholeness? এর আনসার হবে সাংখ্য। তারপরে হচ্ছে psychology is best understood as a science of behavior. তারপরে হচ্ছে who devised intelligence test to measure IQ of children? এটা হবে বিনেট। তারপরে হচ্ছে what does emotion add to the behavior? এটা হবে লাইফ। তারপরে আছে at which stage the child starts walking alone? এটা হবে 12 months. তারপরে আছে maturation provides the raw material for learning. তারপরে আছে which period of Piaget's cognitive development is characterized by egocentrism? এটা হবে pre-operational, option B. তারপরে আছে which is a particular instance of biological adaptation? এটা হবে imitation. তারপরে আছে the theory of level 1 and level 2 intelligence was propounded by, এটা ତୁମମାନଙ୍କୁ homework. ତାପରେ ଅଛି the child learns to open a lock through a number of attempts. This is due to learning by. এটা ସହଜ question ବହୁତ ଅଛି, କମେଣ୍ଟରେ ଆନ୍ସର କହିବ। ତାପରେ ଅଛି which ability is not considered under 7 primary mental abilities advocated by Thurston? এটা হবো ideational fluency. তারপরে হচ্ছে who is considered as father of sociology? এটা তো বহুত সহজ। তারপরে why should teachers have the understanding of culture? টিচর মানଙ୍କର culture ର understanding ରହିବାଟା କାହିଁକି ଦରକାର? କାରଣ education is the process of cultural transmission, option C. তারপরে হচ্ছে which one of the following best explains social exchange? তার আনসার হবো social change is the change which is brought by educational process, option D. তারপরে হচ্ছে which one of the following statement is not correct? এটা হবো education always maintains status quo. ତାପରେ ଅଛି which of the following is not an attribute of modernization? ତାର ହବ interest articulation and interest aggregation. ତାପରେ ଅଛି social mobility refers to change in social status of human. ତାପରେ ଅଛି who states that society is a living organism? ଏଟା ହବ Spencer. ତାପରେ ଅଛି who advocated the idea of cultural lag? ଏଟା ହବ Ogburn. ତାପରେ ଅଛି which one of the following statements is correct from sociological perspective? All children are the members of both community and society. ତାପରେ question ଅଛି which of the following does not convey democratic outlook? ତାର answer ହବ competitive spirit. ତାପରେ question ଅଛି the value that describes the characteristics of a sample is known as statistic. ତାପରେ ଅଛି a statistician reports that mean achievement of a class of 60 students is 69. This is an example of which statistics? It about descriptive statistics. ତାପରେ ଅଛି which scale represents the weakest scale of measurement? ଏଟା ହବ nominal scale represents the weakest scale of measurement. ତାପରେ ଅଛି which one of the following is the most stable measure of central tendency? ଏଟା ହବ only mean. ତାପରେ ଅଛି which measure of central tendency is to be used in case of an incomplete distribution? ଏଟା ହବ only median. ତାପରେ ଅଛି what is not true about the validity of a test? Answer ହବ validity is always specific to some particular use. ତାପରେ ଅଛି a researcher wants to measure the internal consistency of test. Which method of reliability he would use? Split, half and Kudar-Richardson method. ତାପରେ ଅଛି a question was asked in history to compare the principles of Buddhism and Jainism. What kind of question does it refer to? ଏଟା ହବ understanding level ରେ. ତାପରେ ଅଛି which method is followed to conduct research? ଏଟା ହବ scientific method. ତାପରେ ଅଛି a teacher wants to solve his or her classroom problem. What type of research she or he will conduct? ଏଟା ହବ action research. ମନେ ରଖ ପିଲାମାନେ classroom ର problem କୁ solve କରିବା ପାଇଁ action research conduct କରାଯାଏ. ତାପରେ question ଅଛି which tool is not appropriate for quantitative research? Answer ହବ focus group discussion and informal interview. Which does not come under probability sampling design? ଏଇଟା ହବ snowball sample. ତାପରେ ଅଛି which article of Indian Constitution provides for right to education? ଏଇଟା ହବ article 21A. ତାପରେ question ଅଛି when did RTE Act 2009 come into force in Odisha? 1st April 2010. ତାପରେ question ଅଛି on Teachers Day 2017 which portal providing national digital infrastructure for teachers was launched? ଏଟା ହବ Diksha. ତାପରେ ଅଛି the cabinet has approved the creation of which agency for educational testing under the Indian Societies Registration Act 1860? ଏଟା ହବ NTA National Testing Agency. ତାପରେ ଅଛି which educational institution was named after India's first prime minister? ହବ JNU. तो 47 क्वेश्चन रो आंसर हबो JNU. तापरे 48 क्वेश्चन रो आंसर हबो B. ता पर क्वेश्चन अछि where will you find the statement universities as the home are the homes of intellectual adventure? এটা হবো অপশন এ ইউনিভার্সিটি এডুকেশন কমিশন 1949। তারপর আছে হুইচ ডকুমেন্ট অবজার্ভস দ্য ডেস্টিনি অফ ইন্ডিয়া ইজ বিং সেভড ইন হার ক্লাসরুমস। এটা হবো কোঠারি কমিশন। তারপরে আছে হুইচ ডকুমেন্ট সবমিটেড এ কম্প্রিহেনসিভ রিপোর্ট অন পোস্ট ওয়ার ডেভেলপমেন্ট। এটা হবো সার্জেন্ট রিপোর্ট। তারপর দ্য লঞ্চ of satellite channel by IGNOU on 26 January 2003 for technological education for the growth and development of distance education is Ecolabia channel. Which of the following institutions in the field of education is set up by the MHRD Government of India? এটা National Bal Bhavan, New Delhi. The University Grand Commission was constituted on the recommendation of Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. 54 answer of A. Which one of the following articles of the Constitutions of India safeguards the rights of minorities to establish and run educational institutions of their own life? Article 30. The first Indian satellite for surveying the educational sector is known as EduSat. The aim of vocationalization of educational is preparing students for a vocation along with knowledge. NAC is an autonomous institution under aegis of UGC. Question the recommendation of National Knowledge Commission for the establishment of 1500 universities seek to ensure increase in student enrollment in higher education. Which statement is not correct about the National Education Day of India? It is celebrated on 5th September every year. MOOC stands for Massive Open Online Course. What is meant by the curriculum? Organized whole of learning and other experiences provided by educational institutions to realize a set of goals. Option C. The main focus of educational supervision. The main focus of educational supervision is instructional improvement. The option number C. Which of the following is a case of formative evaluation of curriculum? The answer number C. Which is not a correct statement about ECC? The answer number C. Which is the best type of evaluation? It about norm referenced evaluation. When a test constructor experimentally determines the factor influencing scores obtained in the tests constructed by him, it is called as construct validity. Which of the following is useful in theme based learning? It have a project. Arrange the following. And have option C. Which is not a characteristic of basic research. Its purpose is to improve a product or process. Which is not an attribute of scientific method. Belief in faith. Which is not a key characteristic of ethnographic research. Hypothesis testing. When researcher relies on his or, or her own judgment in choosing members From the population, the sampling is purposive sampling. B. In which type of research memo writing is done to explore and share ideas and thoughts among the researcher? It about ethnographic. An experimenter administered a pre-test on both experimental and control groups and found that pre-test means scores of groups differ significantly. Which of the following statistical techniques was used to find out this difference? It about t-test. Which of the following is not a non-probability sampling technique? It about purposive sampling. 76 question number achi, which of the following is not a non-probability sampling technique? It have a purposive sampling. Which is not a popular form of data collected by ethnographers? It have a casual conversation. The most stable measure of variability, it have a standard deviation. Research conducted by classroom teachers to improve spelling errors of students in English language. It have a action research. A study of the causes and consequences of India's freedom struggle movement falls under X factor, X post factor research. Which of the following variables is discrete? It have a attribute. The status quo of a situation in research can be studied through survey research. Which one of the following variables is controlled in experimental research? It have an independent variable. Method of sampling that ensures proportional representation of all sections of a population is technically called stratified sampling. Which of the following is the least preferred while formulating hypothesis? That about the findings of previous research. Which design comes under true experimental design? That about post test only control group. Which is not a participant related threat to the eternal validity of an experiment? It about mortality. The prediction design comes under correlational design. Cohort studies come under quasi experimental research. Which is not a form of narrative research, it is a case study. Which is not mentioned in quantitative research report under method section, it have a researcher characteristics and reflexibility. Option C. Option C. Which one does not fit in the method section of a research report? It have a materials. The disciplinary origin of grounded theory is sociology. What does a research do prior to the conduct of study? It prepares a research proposal. Option C haba. Option C. What percentage of the population is considered minimum for selection of sample for descriptive research? It option B. Which is the most appropriate statement about statistics? Statistics consist of methods for organizing and interpreting data. An instructor records the order in which students compute their test. Which scale of measurement is used? It have a nominal scale. Which of the following is indicative of the weakest correlation between two variables? It have a minus 0.10. Find out the median. When the researcher is interested to set a quick and crude measure of central tendency, it have a mode. तो 2019 सिक्वेट क्वेश्चन मु डिस्कशन कर सारी जब तुम मानकर किसी भी डाउट हम तुम कमेंट सेक्शन रे कमेंट करि परिबो तो थैंक यू प्लीज लाइक शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब माय यूट्यूब चैनल बाय बाय